I think it's safe to say the 2024 Broncos are kind of a weird team, right? They are 3-3. They have fallen behind by at least a 10-0 score in all three of their home games. But despite that, at times they look like a playoff contending team. And other times they are down 23-0 in the fourth quarter and look like they might be picking top 5 in the draft. And I don't want to make any hard, fast conclusions on Bo Nix so early in his career. There are games where he looks very promising, and then there are games and long stretches, kind of like yesterday, where it's a lot of, I don't really know what to make of this. But that's behind us. Hopefully the Broncos can turn the page. They have a short week as they play the New Orleans Saints on Thursday Night Football. So I want to start the show off by looking at some injury news going into this one. It is a very long list of injuries for the Saints. It's actually so long that it's just easier to show you a picture rather than make our injury graphic for this. So a lot of players for the Saints either not practicing or limited. Meanwhile, for the Broncos, if you want to squint your eyes a little bit, Alex Palchevsky going back to practice, so that's quite promising. Damari Mathis, who's been on IR or was on IR to open up the year, was a full participant, which is very good timing since Pat Surtain did not practice with a concussion, which leads us to two very notable injuries here. Chris Olave for the Saints dealing with a concussion, and Pat Surtain for the Broncos with a concussion. So in some ways, both of the queens are off the chessboard here. The Broncos unlikely to have the number one corner. The Saints unlikely to have the number one wide receiver. On a short week, it just seems very difficult for both of these guys to get cleared from concussion protocol. So New Orleans will be without Olave, who has been their go-to guy for much of the year, unless his brother is tweeting out why he only has one target in a game against the Chiefs. But aside from that, Olave has been really good for New Orleans, and we know how dangerous and vital Pat Surtain is. I mean, when he went down yesterday, I don't know why, but the other 10 players on the defense looked like they all forgot how to play football. So it was very discouraging to see them completely melt without PS2. I obviously know how important he is to this defense, but we can't be so dependent on him to the stage of no one knows how to play defense if he's not on the field anymore. But on top of Olave getting injured as well, Rashid Shaheed, who I don't really have a great Broncos comp for him, but maybe like a Marvin Mims on steroids. Let's go with that. He is dealing with a knee injury, and again, with the game being on Thursday, it doesn't put him in a great spot to be available. So Broncos might be catching a huge break here with Pat Surtain down. You don't want to face a gauntlet of receivers, but the gauntlet might be without their top two guys, Olave and Shaheed. So New Orleans might be very shorthanded. I mean, look at their receiver room. They may be wishing they had A.T. Perry right now, who they released earlier last week, and he's on the Broncos practice squad at the moment. But yeah, keep an eye on this throughout the week. And then for the Broncos cornerback room, without PS2, which again hasn't been ruled out just yet, but we can somewhat safely say he's likely not to play. Look at Riley Moss and then Levi Wallace and Damari Mathis, who is no longer on IR, to have a real shot at playing on Sunday. So that's some of the big injury news right there going into Sean Payton's return against the Saints. It'll be his first game back. I'm sure Saints fans are going to give him hell because, yes, it is Sean Payton. It is the guy who gave him their first Super Bowl in franchise history. But I can also kind of see the other side of the coin, which is it's the guy who retired from football and then unretired a year later. And I think he just was done coaching in New Orleans once Drew Brees retired. So it's probably going to be a little bit of hostile, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun on Thursday. We'll have a watch party here, so come hang out with us. If you have never joined a Broncos Breakdown watch party before, it's a lot of fun. But let's show PS2 some love right now. Type 2 down below in the comment section. I know he's hurting. I mean, this guy's been an Iron Man for the Broncos, and I mean, this year has been somewhat the year of injuries in the NFL, and for all of the superstars in the league, we like to think that they are untouchable and that they can't go down and they are immortal. But Aidan Hutchinson going down with a broken leg yesterday, PS2 going down with a concussion, it's sadly a reminder that, no, these guys are humans, and they are very susceptible to injuries as well. So with that, we can kind of transition to Aidan Hutchinson going down, which isn't really news for the Broncos. except that the Lions are going to be aggressively looking for a replacement. They are going to be searching for another pass rusher, and I could think of a team in the AFC West that calls Denver home that might have an extra pass rusher on their roster. Now, before we get any further into that subject and a potential trade, I'm going to tell everyone watching about our great sponsor today, Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I really like about Game Time is they offer the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Adam Schefter was on the Pat McAfee show today talking about where the Lions go from here after Aidan Hutchinson's season-ending injury. And I think it's important to note that he pointed out that he does not see the Lions making a move to mortgage the future. So likely no big sexy trade for Max Crosby or Hassan Reddick. Maybe instead a little bit more of a budget acquisition like Baron Browning, who has been on IR since the end of week 2. He is eligible to come off of IR for Thursday night, but with it being a short week, I would not hold your breath on seeing Browning play against the Saints. And the third-round pick is in the final year of his contract, so I could see the Broncos, despite being in a spot where they are not necessarily sellers at 3-3 going into the NFL trade or approaching the NFL trade deadline, being open to moving on from Browning if they get an offer they deem to be more than fair. Browning last year in 10 games after missing the start of the year had 4.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. I know that the box score does not do Browning justice, but people that watch the game, people that keep up with the Broncos and are within the know of the NFL, know that the numbers do not do Browning justice, but the tape does, and he is a really good pass rusher altogether. So I am open to trading Baron Browning if a couple of things happen. Reason number 1, I'm open to trading Browning. If the Broncos believe that Jonathan Cooper is the guy they want to give an extension to, and they are prepared to let Browning walk in free agency after this season. Both Ohio State Buckeyes were 2021 draft picks. Both are playing in the final year of their contract, and Cooper has this year emerged as the more available, accountable, and reliable pass rusher for this team. So I could see Denver going, if we plan on giving Cooper an extension, why not get something for Browning now if we don't plan on seeing him be here long term? Now, before we look at my next reason to trade Baron Browning potentially, help us reach our goal of 26,500 subscribers. We are a little over 350 away. So if you are looking for a free Broncos YouTube channel that puts out daily content, hit that sub button down below. We're going to keep you guys in the know all year long. Reason number 2. If Denver continues to have a desire to start Nick Bonitto, who has been filling in for Browning and has done a phenomenal job of filling in for the former third-round pick. Bonitto, in 4 games as the starter, has 4 sacks. He has 4 tackles for loss in the season altogether and 12 tackles. The former second-round pick out of Oklahoma was more or less a redshirt freshman back in 2022. But last year, he showed a big step forward. This year, he continues to make big strides forward with 4 sacks in 6 games. So if Denver wants to keep Bonitto on the field, even when Browning returns, and they don't want to see Bonitto's snaps go down and put Browning back at the top of the depth chart, that could definitely be a motivator for Denver to be interested in a trade. Reason number 3, the Detroit Lions give you an offer you can't refuse because they are so desperate to get a pass rusher, but they don't want to pay top dollar, give up multiple first-round draft picks, but you can kind of get them to slide from a 5th to a 4th or a 4th to a 3rd. I'm very interested in getting a good offer for a guy that might not be here beyond this season, like we talked about in reason number 1, might not even be a starter when he comes back from the injury because of how well Bonitto has played. So we're talking about a guy who might be a backup, but it's going to have a decent role on this team still, don't get me wrong, but might not be here beyond this season. And you could add to your 6 draft picks for the upcoming NFL draft, where this is still a roster that has some holes to fill. And you can maybe use that pick to support Bo Nix and go get, or, improve your offensive line depth or add another wide receiver. Like, look at the picks Denver has to work with. It's not bad, but we could definitely do better than 6 picks. You can get an extra early day 3 draft pick. That's something I think we could all be interested in. So here's my trade idea. The Lions get Baron Browning, who, if healthy, can be nowhere near Aidan Hutchinson, let's be honest, but at least be a quality fill-in and what's probably going to become a committee pass rush, which he has done a lot of in Denver. And the Broncos get a 4th-round draft pick, which would be a really nice pickup for a guy that they may let walk after the season, and they like Bonitto starting over him now anyway because he has done such a tremendous job while filling in for the injured Buckeye. So if you were in charge, would you do this trade? If the Lions called you and said, we want Baron Browning for a 4th-round draft pick, are you accepting or declining that deal? Personally, I'm not trying to get Baron Browning out of town, but I am down to accept this trade because of the final year of his contract, upcoming free agency, Cooper somewhat looking like the more obvious candidate to get an extension from Denver, and Bonitto playing so well. If all those things weren't happening, I would probably decline. I mean, a 4th-round pick is pretty tempting, but I wouldn't be dying to get Browning off this team or anything like that. I really like him as a player, but Bonitto's played so well. Cooper looks like he could be here for a long time. I think it's worth looking into getting a 4th or 5th-round pick for Browning. Before we get on out of here, I want to give some quick shout-outs to the Blue and Orange Club. Appreciate you guys for being such loyal supporters of the channel. If you want to get added to get shout-outs for the entire 2024 season, $100 super chat during our watch party this Thursday for the Saints game will add you to the club, and you'll get shout-outs all year long. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed our content, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you are not already.